All right, everyone. So as you can see, Ricky is using the new, as I like to call, the people's camera. No, okay.
I called her Elle.
He has a different name for it, whatever. Wait, what's the name for it?
What's the name? What's the name for it?
Elle.
He wants to call it L.
What do you call it? ELLE.
I call it the people's camera.
Wait, the mic does work now?
No, I got a different camera.
What?
No, I got a different camera that takes the mic.
Return, you got a new one.
You got different cameras that get new mics?
Definitely. Yeah. All right, so let's start with the roll call.
Yeah, I'll be happy with the cost.
Salma? Sabrina? Mayada? Anthony? Nadia? Francis? Rima? Chris? Simone? Tammy? Dylan?
Here.
Ozzy? Hamza?
Here.
Maria? Carlos? Sarah? Haida? Vicky?
Here.
Yuda? And Giowa?
Okay, so before we go to the referendum proposal, we're going to have a short presentation by Students for Justice in Palestine. So come on up.
Can I play the clip first?
Well, first,
Yeah, stand here.
go ahead.
I
Let's
guess.
do this first.
Okay. Yeah.
Ricky, is this fine?
Wait, I'm gonna. Sorry.
Okay, thank you guys for being here. We're gonna play a short clip first before we start presentations.
The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. 48 was achieved through the ruthless and well-planned ethnic cleansing of 750,000 Palestinians. And this colonial logic of conquest, destruction, and expulsion has continued to the present day. Today, about a third of the Palestinian people live under a brutal military occupation in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza. Israel has stolen land, built Jewish-only settlements, expelled Palestinians, and cornered others into ghettos, surrounded by walls, military watchtowers, and checkpoints. 12% of the Palestinian people live inside Israel as third-class citizens. They are subjected to a system of racial discrimination and racist laws that amounts to apartheid, as defined by the United Nations. Half of the Palestinian people continue to live outside Palestine as refugees, denied their right to return to their homes. In 2014, Israel carried out one of its bloodiest ever massacres of Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip. More than 2,000 people were killed, a quarter of them children. Israel is only able to maintain its regime of oppression because of the support of international governments and corporations. When those in power refuse to act to stop this injustice, we need a global citizens' response to stand alongside Palestinians in their struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. In 2005, Palestinian civil society came together to issue its call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. The appeal calls for concerted nonviolent action to isolate Israel, as was done to apartheid South Africa. We are calling for boycott pressure on Israel until it complies with international law in the following ways: end its occupation and colonization of land seized in 1967, recognize the right of the Palestinian citizens of Israel to full equality, respect the right of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes. The BDS movement has empowered people across the world to take effective action against Israel. Trade unions, student groups, churches, academics, cultural figures, and social movements are joining together to make an impact. Already, because of BDS, Israeli export companies are complaining that it is getting harder to export their products, and grassroots action has prevented Israeli ships from docking at ports around the world. Major Israeli exporter SodaStream, targeted by our campaign, has announced plans to close a factory it operates in an illegal Israeli settlement. G4S and Veolia, two huge corporations that help Israel maintain its occupation, have lost billions of dollars worth of contracts as a result of BDS activism. Both companies are now talking about ending their role in Israel's crimes. Some European governments are now taking action against aspects of Israel's occupation, and several US academic associations have endorsed a comprehensive academic boycott of Israeli universities. And many prominent musicians and artists support the cultural boycott of Israel, refusing to perform there. Israeli business leaders and politicians are warning that the boycott is starting to isolate Israel. In fact, the government is so worried about the strategic threat that BDS poses to their regime of oppression that it's using its enormous resources to undermine the movement. There's a real fear within Israel that it is fast becoming the pariah state that South Africa once was. Get involved in the BDS movement today. Join or set up a campaign in your local area. Pressurize governments and companies to end their support for Israel's regime of injustice. With BDS, we can all make a real contribution to end international complicity in Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people. Thanks for watching. The establishment of the State of Israel in
So first, we're just going to give you a small summary of what BDS is. Boycotting is on the individual level, where like you, me, or anybody else stops doing or stops consuming products that come from companies that operate in occupied territory. The investments come from institutional investors like universities, for example, like us, where we stop purchasing products from companies that profit from unjust practices that happen in occupied territories. And sanctions are like country level, where they don't allow imports coming into the country from governments such as Israel that exploit the Palestinians. Okay, so here's BDS's response to the failure of the Oslo Accords, which was supposed to produce a Palestinian state, but it has not. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu saying that he will never allow a Palestinian state, and even campaigning during his elections that he will not allow for a Palestinian state, and so that Israel can comply with international law and stop violating human rights.
So why are we boycotting the products that are supporting the Israeli regime? First of all, these products are supporting injustices that is occurring in Palestine, which is affecting the Palestinian population and segregating them in Palestine. So if the people in power aren't drawing attention to those injustices, it is our responsibility as students to have people vote against not wanting those companies to support the products whose funding are going to Israel. So BDS was first started as a grassroots movement by students in South Africa to end the apartheid regime that was started there. There was separation between black South Africans and the other students, so they started this movement to draw attention towards the separation and end it ultimately. And that is exactly what we are trying to do right now. We are trying to end the separation of Palestinians and Israelis in Palestine by boycotting the products from these companies. So the goal of BDS is to hold Israel accountable to all the injustices that it's committing towards the Palestinians, which includes ending its occupation and colonization of the Palestinians, and dismantling the wall that is causing separation between the two citizens, Israelis and the Palestinians. It's a 440-mile wall that is built on the border of Palestine to separate it, to enforce social segregation. Another reason is to recognize the fundamental rights of the Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel to full equality, as many Palestinian citizens that are living in Israel are facing racial segregation, to which many Arab candidates are not allowed to vote in Israel, and also a lot of Palestinian students are being charged with an additional amount of money for their education. So it's important for them to realize that Palestinian and Israelis should be equal and no segregation should be allowed to occur. And the third goal of BDS is to respect, protect, and promote the rights of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes. Unfortunately, about half of the population of Palestinians are exiled to many countries around the world and are forced to live in camps where they have no type of support that they are receiving. So it is important for them to abide by this rule and have all Palestinians return to their homeland to which they were originally in.
So these are the student orgs here on campus that support this referendum. So we have Students for Justice in Palestine, which is ourselves, the Muslim Student Association, Ahlul Bayt Student Association, Rutgers Newark College Democrats, Black Organization of Students, and Rutgers Association of International Relations. So this is the referendum question. So this would be presented to all of the students during election week. Must Rutgers University divest immediately from all companies that support or operate within the settlements of the occupied territories of Palestine and Syria? Example, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza, and the Golan Heights. So ultimately, we ask for Rutgers to not invest our tuition dollars in companies that profit off of human rights violations against Palestinians. So we could go back to the referendum question. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. Do you know of any, like what are the current companies that Rutgers supports that, that adheres to this?
Yeah.
So we have a few examples. One is HP. So we have, if you look in the library, all of our computers are from there. So HP is one organization or one company that actually develops, softwares and hardware for the Israeli army. Another example is Sabra, the homeless company. So they actually profit off of the occupation.
And another example would be that Rutgers is a Coke school, meaning they signed a contract that says that all student events, student org, or ran by administration has to only be Coca-Cola products. And Coca-Cola is a company that operates within settlements and also supports them.
Sabra Hummus, they sell it in the cafeteria as well. That's another company. There's other companies that are bigger companies that a lot of schools are known to invest in. And I can't, it was on the slideshow before, I don't know if you guys took those off, but I can't remember the exact names of them. But there are like several companies, and I know this isn't something that's new. So for example, NYU passed a referendum in regards to this, and they had also the list of companies that NYU invested. There was Brown University. So Brown University is closer to what we're trying to do here. So Brown University passed a student-wide referendum, and that was like I think like a month ago. It was very, very recent. But SGA actually, a little bit of background on this as well. SGA in 2016 passed this a bill basically saying basically all of this, and it passed through the Senate. So this passed a majority vote. There just wasn't anything that was university-wide. So the point of a referendum like this is to be like, okay, well, administration, the SGA passed something, maybe you didn't abide by that. But here we're seeing that, well, if we get like 80, 90% of students who are in support of it, we're saying these are your students, these are the people who are paying tuition, this is how you're getting your money. So how are you investing that money into things that your students don't want you to invest in?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I just wanted to know, like, what were some of the products that
Yeah.
That this would be a non-binding referendum, obviously, that would go then to the administration.
Yeah, so technically this has no like real life implications. Like for us to pass this doesn't mean that Rutgers University immediately has to divest, right? But it's about the work that we do after this. So obviously working with SJP, whose goal is literally to do all of this stuff. Working with them on an advocacy level with administration, not only here but in New Brunswick as well, to make sure that it does happen. But this is just more of like a statement saying like this is how our students feel about this.
The end goal would be to put the results of the referendum on President Barty's desk. And just to show.
Is there any way we can get similar referendums passed in Brunswick and Camden? Since
So-
this is only like a third of Rutgers University.
So New Brunswick dynamics, I don't know if it would necessarily pass there. Camden, we can definitely discuss. I mean, Rutgers, I'm sure New Brunswick would be open to talking about it. So that's not off the table. Like 100% after this, we're going to talk to New Brunswick. We're going to talk to Camden. It's just a matter of how those campuses are going to respond to it. But even if just Rutgers New York passes it, like we are a campus, we have the ability to do things on our campus to change the campus
So
environment.
that's my question.
So-
Is this something that we can get just Rutgers New York to do? Can
So
Rutgers
something
New
like
York
something like
pass?
what Dylan was saying about Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola products are, I don't think, I mean, that's something that we'd also have to look into afterwards, but I don't think that if we remove Coca-Cola from off Rutgers New York campus, that we have to do it off New Brunswick and we have to do it off Camden. It's just working through like our own campus departments, like for example, Brian, talking to him and saying, well, can dining switch from all of these different Coca-Cola products and instead of providing those events, provide these Pepsi products? It's a small switch, or even just saying, can you
Yeah,
stop?
our goal would be to want to, like, take them out of all
Yeah.
campuses, Newark, Camden, and New Brunswick. But
Yeah.
as of now, we're just focusing on Newark.
I just wanted, yeah, I was just curious as to whether it's actually feasible for just Rutgers New York to divest
Yeah.
independently.
Just
So yeah.
Newark.
I believe it is, but again, we'll look into it afterwards, and even something as small as like getting rid of Sabra hummus, right? Having them stop selling it, something like that. But going back to your question, the investments also is difficult because we were looking into we were looking into companies that Rutgers invest in, and it's kind of like difficult to get the record because they don't really have it as like a public record of these are the companies that we invest in and all of that. So it'd be work afterwards saying with administration making all that clearer and all of that. So.
There's also another aspect to it. Like the New Brunswick campus has organizations which provide free trips or some paid trips that are biased to Israel, and they don't show the full picture. But these trips aren't just paid like out of pocket or for free out of nowhere. A lot of them are subsidized by state aid, federal aid, school aid, and school scholarships.
Yeah, wasn't there an issue that just recently?
Yeah, there was. So, do you guys want to hear about the issue? It was basically, there were a few organizations, I think HLC Student Council is one of them, Are You Women in Business, and there might have been another organization, but those were like the heads on the planning of the event. And the event was sponsored by an organization,
Caravan for Democracy.
Caravan for Democracy, which is like known to have a presence in like Israeli settlements and show like a one-sided story to the Israel-Palestine conflict. So there were a few groups that reached out to them, SJP and MSA mainly, who reached out to them and told them that this organization. I think it was more like ignorance on the subject itself and ignorance on the organization. But as soon as SJP and MSA reached out to them, they just canceled the event. So yeah, that was
We'll be having an event kind of like in response. Well, with partner with HLC and Women
Are
in
You
Business. So we'll be working with them on April 15th during free period. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like a lot of this stuff also is just ignorance on the subject. Like a lot of people don't necessarily know what's happening in Palestine, like the different types of human rights violations that are going on there. So another part of this would be education. So SGA partnering with SJP, MSA, and I don't know if you guys saw the tent downstairs, Islam Awareness Week is happening. So if this were to pass through this vote, the Senate vote, then there would be awareness on the university-wide level, and that would be kind of on all of us to be out there and saying, okay, well, this is the conflict that's going on, make an educated vote, not necessarily saying vote this way, but just saying, like, this is exactly what's going on, and this is the vote that's going to be happening, and make sure your voice is heard.
If there are no other questions, I motion to vote, pass this referendum in the upcoming election.
Second.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is this only for like companies and stuff, not student organizations? Or is it for student orgs
It's for
too?
companies specifically, and you could advocate for organizations or whatever later. This is not binding. I mean, the goal is to just show administration and show like the student voice.
Yeah.
And if they want to disregard it, then that's on them, and that'll look really bad.
Yeah, no, this isn't like targeting any type of student organization or anything like that. This is mostly on a university-wide level with companies that we're investing in. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Because I know the motion is on the table. So you guys are okay with doing a regular vote, not secret vote? Okay, cool.
So I motion, he second.
Yeah, I know.
You're-
Well, technically,
you're
you're chairing the
You're in
meeting.
charge.
Oh, okay, chief says. Okay, so all in favor of passing this as a referendum in the upcoming election?
Raise your hands high.
All against? And all abstaining?
Congratulations, guys. It passed. Okay, so then also, if you're interested, actually, real quick, SJP, get interest from the Senate so that you guys can connect with them as well, because I know you guys are going to take time after this to do that. So if anybody's interested in helping out, please raise your hand.
I will definitely need volunteers for that.
Yeah.
Or if you want more information.
Anybody who's interested in helping out or wants more information from SJP regarding this, moving forward, please raise your hand high. Okay, so I'll send you guys.
And also, if you're a part of any other student organizations who might be interested in endorsing the referendum, by all means, reach out. Okay, so we'll move on. Any updates about University Senate?
Okay, so we had a meeting with Dean Williams last week regarding University Senate positions, and what it's looking like for the upcoming election is that no one has filled the University Senate positions. So what we're looking to do is, and obviously it's up for discussion, but possibly instead of having those positions elected because no one volunteered to fill them, is have the respective schools nominate students and senators can nominate students as well. And then we would have to confirm them in the position by April 11th. The next talk. What's the date that we have to confirm people for University Senate?
The deadline is April 22nd.
April 22nd. Okay, so April 22nd is the deadline, so we would hope to confirm them in the Monday of that week. But we have,
Yes,
yes.
sorry. I just wanted to clarify though that the elections committee, I think they may have talked to you all about this as well, is to get also nominations.
Yeah, I mentioned.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so so there's going to be nominations from the schools themselves, but like I said, if you guys want to nominate people as well, and then they would come up, present, and basically what we did last week or 2 weeks ago for the Judicial Council, they would present, and then we would just confirm them into those positions, because they do have to be filled by the April 22nd date, and we definitely need to have representation on university this year, because can't stress how important it is to have people there. Ricky, did you go to the last meeting?
Didn't get to go.
You didn't go. Did anyone go to the last meeting?
So,
Okay.
good question.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if maybe I have this mistake. They would be allowed to be on the ballot, not confirmed? I don't know.
So we would actually confirm them into the positions ourselves. They wouldn't be on the ballot. They would just
This
be
is
put up for
post-ballot.
a,
This would be post-ballot.
this would
Yeah.
be, yeah, post-elections.
Okay, got it.
That's after elections happen, and everything, yeah. Yeah.
What positions are open?
So there, every position's open.
What?
Every university senate position. is
So I guess
open.
the question.
Oh, no. Senators.
Oh, senate positions? That's up to elections.
I can show you the list after this.
Yeah, but university, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have one question. So if you get a nomination before the ballot gets
We can
open,
put them on the
do you want to
ballot.
put it on the ballot?
We can, yeah.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know, because next week is election, right? So we're not gonna be able to get one before it's out. But, yeah, so any other questions? Oh, you asked, so the university senate positions, all of them are open. So that means there's 3 MCAS, there's 2 RBS, 2
spot.
CLJ,
Two spots.
2 spots, 2 CLJ, 3 MCAS, and 2 RBS. So all of those need to be filled. So if you guys have anyone, you can send those names to Kainet, and Kainet will let us know, and then we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. But hopefully we can get it done by next meeting, so we don't have to be last minute about it. So yeah, please get those nominations by, let's put it as Thursday, okay? Date for everybody? Yeah? Yes, okay. The other thing, one other update on our end, we do want to do the Student Choice Awards again this year, and for anyone who's not aware of what Student Choice Awards are, It's basically the awards where students get to nominate professors that they think deserve different awards in different categories. And then we had a little award ceremony in University Club in the afternoon. We had it on like a Friday afternoon, but we could just do like a Thursday night. And they just come up and get their awards. And it's a nice little like gathering thing that we do. So is anyone interested in helping out on that committee, planning committee? Anybody?
What's the proposed date?
There isn't a proposed date yet, so the planning committee would be to come up with a date, send out the emails and stuff. Anyone else? Anybody else? Please. Yeah, this is for the planning committee for the student choice awards. So they're awards that are given to professors.
What are you looking for?
Planning people. Committee, okay. Both of you, okay. Yeah. Forgot about this.
Is that for University Senate?
I think that's it for University Senate. And that's it for the board updates.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? Okay. The other thing as well, sorry, just make sure you guys are spending your money because last semester all the money went back to our account basically. So like, spend your money and do something.
So you guys each have roughly 1,300 each pay.
What's the most, like, if you want to give something to the board, what's the most you're running?
I don't think there's a limit.
There's no limit on it. but
So
try
it's
to
usually
make
the
sure-
best way to spend it if since it's getting towards the end of the semester, there's a lot of orgs who are planning their events and need financial support. There's a few orgs that have reached out to us for financial support, so if you're interested in giving it to a certain org and they'll happen org, you can just reach out to eWork, and there's more than a few orgs that are looking for some financial assistance.
But the best way to spend your money is to do it with your event or your own initiatives.
If you can, then definitely spend it.
So we'll get to
Oh,
now
okay.
move on to the updates, so go around. If anyone wants to start, you don't have to say anything. If you have an update, just go like that.
Wait guys, can I just mention one more thing? The organization of African students came into my allocations board. They got approved for the full amount, but they're still short on 2,100. If anyone wants to help out on their event, wishing them with Will, great event, just kind of feel free to contact me after, and then I'll contact them. You kind of get them some of the money.
Okay, thank you. So if anyone wants to go first.
Yeah, well, for me and Ramses for SASED, we're co-sponsoring with MAPS for their annual Bridging Borders on April 20th, so also co-sponsoring that. And then they're also doing another event that we're co-sponsoring with them. Basically, it's for Fighting for Her. So we'll let you know, and hopefully we'll like give you a flyer so you guys can put it on the Instagram page.
Cool. For SPA, we're looking into buying like different books and stuff for students. Like some of them really expensive. There's not many expensive SPA books to get, but there's a library that's in the SPA building that we're looking to like invest for undergrad students because right now it's only for grad students. So that's like we're just talking, but like logistically, how would that actually work?
Textbook Drive. That took me after. Textbook Drive initiative. Yeah, so we're trying to still do the Textbook Drive initiative, and I'm actually looking I want to meet with bookstores soon to try to get a list of the textbooks that are required for like fall and spring, just like not a short list, it's gonna be a long list, but like if they do have like one centralized list. So we want to invest in some textbooks for like all the different schools. So if you guys want to help out with that, then definitely can. Because we want to do that before the end of the semester so that we can start it next semester.
So for CJ, working closely with the CJ Club, we're trying to talk to some professors in the CJ school, and we want to have like an open discussion sometime this month. We want to talk about criminal justice reform. The new criminal justice reform that was recently passed in Congress, and we just want students to be aware of these new changes and how they can affect a lot of people's lives.
I have one there is an organization that came in last week called Coptic Orphans, and they just like reached out to me like to help let people know there's trips going abroad to Egypt once in January and once in June and once in July. Basically, you're going there to teach orphan kids English, give them like a somewhat education that goes with the American education curriculum. That's basically the main part. You're just going out and helping in the poorer villages. So if anyone would like to sign up, they're taking applications, I think, all this month. So if anyone is interested in doing something like that, I plan on doing it next month. If anyone else would like to or needs more information, they can reach out to me or call Referendum.
Is it free?
That's all. It's Egypt, but everything else like that.
The airfare?
The airfare, yeah. But like everything there is paid for. Transportation, food, the hotels, everything's paid for.
So for the at-large senators, we're still working on the two initiatives, the lockers and the Commuters Appreciation Day. So for the lockers, we are making progress with that. We met with Dean Bania and she loved the idea, and we made a trip to Englehart to look at the lockers to see what their conditions are. But then we, but then we realized that.
Sorry, so Ricky made a motion to Dylan for Dylan's attention, and I was trying to help Ricky. Okay, Dylan.
Continue.
Okay, so we were looking at the lockers to see what the conditions of them were, and then we found out that they're locked, and that, yeah, so we're working on locating the keys for all the lockers. There's about 200 something lockers.
Wait, there are already lockers here?
Yeah, in Englehart.
Where?
On the second floor, the third floor, the basement. The second floor, the third floor, and the basement.
I feel like I've passed them.
There's a whole bunch, like there's no walls, it's all lockers. So hopefully we'll find the keys, and then the conditions of the lockers aren't that bad. If it is bad, then we're talking about like renovations and stuff like that. But so she loves the idea, and hopefully we can have it in place for fall.
So I have a question. How, obviously there's not enough lockers for like every single student here. So how would you guys, like what do you think of how you would give them out? Like who would get priority and all that?
So we wanted to do it so that students will rent out the locker for the semester, maybe like a fee of maybe $15, and then have that go towards like a student scholarship of some sort. But then if it is a popular idea and a lot of students want it, it'll probably have to be like on a first come, first served basis. But then you won't have the locker like the whole year. Like you'll have it per semester so that other students can have a chance to maybe go up first to have the locker for the semester.
So what if you like incentivize the system and basically like how the housing system works, right? If you have like more activity and you're like involved more on campus and like all of those things, that you have, you get like a point system, and then the people with the most points get to pick the room first, or like all that stuff. So what if you do that with like the locker system? Because obviously students who are like spending more time on campus and are more involved on campus might need the lockers more than other students.
No, that's a great idea. We're still having a lot of discussions about what like that whole thing's gonna look like, because there's security, there's all this stuff that we're still talking about. So we'll definitely take that.
And then the other thing for your Community Appreciation Day, do you guys want to share?
Yeah. So I heard you guys talking about your funds. If you don't have any events, please be looking for funds, because we're thinking of ordering T-shirts, pens, and a lot of like care packages for the Community Appreciation Day, and we're really low on cash. So if you guys want to donate, please donate to us. And so we're going to do it on the Scarlet Week, the 24th of April. Yeah. So we're going to, should I talk about the whole event or yes?
If you want to.
Okay, so we're going to start the day with breakfast at 3 different locations: business school, the area in between CJ and SPAR, and in front of PRCC. And we're also looking for volunteers, so if you guys want to help us out, please reach out to us. And I'm going to, so during the SGA Carnival, we have like a series of events going on. We have the commuter students meet and greet, we have massages, we have comedy show, we have like different events going on. And in between, we're going to be giving out the care packages, which includes T-shirts, bottles, pens, yeah, a whole bunch of random stuff.
So the idea of the day is just to have like minor things, just to show the commuter student population that they are appreciated and that Rutgers does care and know that they're there. They form like a large population of the school. And then another thing that we plan to do is that we're going to talk to local restaurants and businesses to have like a discount for that day for all Rutgers students. That encourages students to go out there and eat in those restaurants, and it helps the restaurants build the amount of people that come here. It's good exposure. So we're working on that basically. And if you want to help either by donating some of your funds to us or helping us on that day with like the different stations for food distributions or the raffles or anything like that, just let us know.
I think that's something definitely worth SGA funds if you guys are looking for somewhere to put your funds. I know the executive board will definitely be supporting fund-wise, so if anybody else wants to as well. Any other questions?
So for media, we've depleted all of our funds. We actually went over a little bit, so we need someone to chip in a little bit. We went over like $20, $40.
Yeah, we didn't go over that much, but we do. We would appreciate it. Yeah, I can like.
How much you guys go over?
By like $20.
Yeah.
E-board will cover it.
Yeah, you would cover it.
All right, cool.
You think so?
So yeah, we bought the nice camera, the mic attachment, the camera that supports that, the tripod and the bag, and we're gonna keep it like in the office, locked in the one of the drawers.
Yeah. So we were discussing on like what exactly we're gonna use, because like this camera, it's very versatile. Like it's not just for recording; it also takes pictures. But the camera. So like for events that we're gonna have, you know, SGA co-sponsors events, or for example, the event that the Arts and Sciences Centers are gonna have, let us know like when it is, and like we can maybe take pictures and start posting on the Instagram, on the Facebook, and stuff like that. So we definitely want to set precedents for our SGA. We have to expose ourselves. We have to make ourselves look nice, and for future SGAs, not just for us.
Yes,
So,
hand it down. So I'm going to be putting this on the agenda for next meeting, hopefully. I want to have a vote on what we're going to name it. We have 2 names right now on the table. You want to say yours?
So the name that I proposed is L. So
Are you-
E-L-L-E.
How did you come up with it?
How I come up with it?
Yeah, just hate it.
Like E-L or just L?
I mean, I didn't come up with it myself. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what should I name it? Should I name the camera? And then fellow colleague senator I was with, she's not here at the moment, but like we ended up coming up with L. I guess we were.
Wait,
just
is it
looking-
like E-L or just
Oh no,
the letter L?
E-L-L-E.
Oh, L, like the actual name L.
And the other name that I propose is the People's Camera.
Wow, that's creative.
So in all conversation, it must be referred to as the People's
Hold
Camera.
on, what
I think I
about
like
L, comma, the people's camp?
Ooh.
Give me an
That's
idea.
good.
We'll save this for next meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, deliberation.
The people's camera is not even a name. That's just a
Because it's nameless.
Unless
Paid
there's
by
a
all the
motion to
students.
debate, we can't hear this, so let's get to a motion.
We gotta wait. We gotta wait until Monday.
Question, when are SGA elections next week?
Yeah. Maybe we get this week.
Are you guys having a debate this week?
Wednesday. Oh, yeah, so this week, Wednesday, is the candidate open forum. So also the other thing I wanted to ask the the student affairs, what is it? Student affairs senators. SOIS student affairs senators. I wanted to ask them about incentivizing, but I guess I could just ask you guys and give them your opinion. But so incentivizing it with SOIS points, I think it's a really good idea. At the end of the day, the SGA is there to serve the student body and in turn serve student organizations as well. So to incentivize student organizations and student leaders to come to the open forum, I think it's really important. So what do you guys think? Yeah, give SOIS points? Yeah.
This is kind of a random question, but there are a lot of TVs around this campus that aren't being, like I think 4 huge TVs in Hill Hall, like at the top.
Yeah.
Like, who's in charge of it?
You just read my mind.
That's a good question.
Who's in charge of
Like running it, like it could be used for like some great promotions and stuff like that.
I know that the purchasing office was under Mr. Kevin Dowland, who oversees our campus computer labs, but I don't know who's like managing the actual uploading the flyers and information. That's a great question. Student Life is reaching out to get more information, so you can follow up with Dean Candid, who should have that answer.
Because so far it seems like the stuff that's been on there has been okay. I mean, it's really been like slideshows that aren't really engaging, but like they've had things like all Rutgers students get like Microsoft Office for free, like you just download it on your email. So that's good, but like, you know, it could be used for a lot of other things too. So,
It's not even on. They're like huge screens on top of that
Yeah,
first floor
telephone ones,
hallway,
right?
and it's not even.
They turn them on. They had
They
some
do?
stuff.
They're on
yeah,
some-
when
they're-
I was
they're
going,
not on
they had
sometimes.
some stuff like
Yeah.
maybe they turn them off at night or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea to get promotion up there as well. Really good idea. So we'll follow up with TCN. Any other questions?
So yeah, that's it. A motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. So moved.
All right. See y'all next week.